Lights out.
Oh, it's the real deal.
Hey, he looks like a pro boxer.
1, 2, 3, light him up.
Your winner and the new champion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central London and the launch of Misfits X Series 007 live and exclusively on DAZN around the world, and now in the UK also on Sky Channel 429 and your Virgin Media boxes. It's going to be a fantastic build-up. We've got Joe Fournier flown in from Miami. His advisor, David Haye, and next to me, Alexis Dimitriades and KSI. I'll come more to the names in a minute. I wanted to thank our partners, Steak, as well as Prime Hydration and Energy, the king of Prime Hydration and Energy drinks. First of all, we have a massive build-up planned for May 13th. We're expecting a sellout Wembley Arena on May 13th. Before that, the X Series goes to New Orleans on April 21st, also live and exclusive on DAZN. The night after will be followed by Tank Garcia, followed by 2 weeks later, of course, Canelo Alvarez against John Ryder, before we come back to London for the big one and KSI's pursuit of legacy. To my left, a man that I'm very proud to say that I was involved in his career, a great career, one of an elite club, a cruiserweight champion of the world, a heavyweight champion of the world, Mr. David Haye. To my left, the billion-dollar man, Joe Fournier, 9-0 professional, reaching the number 10 of the World Boxing Association professional rankings, holding the WBA international title. To my far right, Alexis Dimitriades, together with Marios of Shoot Fighters, the home of Derek Chisora, Dillian White, Michael Page, to name a few. And the man to my immediate right needs not too much of an introduction, the entertainer, the entrepreneur, the rapper, but most importantly today, the boxer, KSI, and Misfits Cruiserweight champion. At that point, I'd like to start with my old compatriot, Mr. David Haye. David, great to see you here today. When you're on the top table, we know it's a big event. How do you see the fight going? You know Joe obviously very, very well. You've watched KSI's last fights. I know you were ringside for 001. And how do you see Joe's chances and how he will come into this fight with what game plan?
Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you asked that question about being at the first fight, the 01. At the O2 Arena. That, strangely, was the first time all three of my children, Kingston 9, Sienna 12, and Cassis 14, all asked me, can we go to watch the boxing? Never before have they all asked me to go to the boxing. So that, off the bat, it was like, okay, this Misfits thing's, it's a real thing. And not only was the shock factor of all my kids wanting to go to the event, when I went to the event, it wasn't your usual typical boxing crowd. Young crowd, lots of females, lots of, excited people, no ag in the crowd whatsoever. It was a nice family environment that I felt very comfortable with all three of my kids at. So when Joe said, I want to fight KSI, I thought it was okay. It's on paper, he's a YouTuber. You're a professional fighter. I've been there. I've watched him spar. Chris Eubank Jr., James DeGale. He's a boxer and has been for a long time. Top 10 WWBA. But I also know London shoot fighters. Alexis, he worked with me over the years, many, many years, worked with Derek Chisora. The fact that they've wanted this fight, they're the ones who brought this to the table. You know, we said, Joe, I'll be interested, and they snapped it up. And I'm thinking, what do they know? What do they know? I've spent a bit of time with KSI. He was training down in the Haymaker gym, so I saw him before he was a potential opponent. And he was a lot better than I thought he'd be. I remember thinking to myself, okay, he's getting it. This was a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, I don't believe it would have been a competitive match. I don't know what's happened in the year and a half since. Myself and Joe had a fight a year and a half ago in Miami. Donald Trump and 50 Cent doing the commentary. It was a crazy situation, crazy event. But Alexis was in my corner for that fight, so he knows Joe very well. I see the fight as Joe's just a lot more complete. He's been doing boxing for 10 years. I've sparred with him. I've seen many, many rounds. But he hasn't boxed. How long has it been since you've had a fight? How long?
Against you.
That was the last time. Last time. Prior to me, when was the fight prior to that?
April.
April before that. Okay, so has that bit of, you know, is there ring rust there? He stays in shape. He doesn't take drugs. He looks after himself. That works in his favour. KSI obviously 10 years younger, a little bit more than 10 years younger than him. He's been active recently, but I just can't see in a year and a half KSI being able to close that bridge, close that gap against someone who's been doing boxing for so long as a professional. I think they've miscalculated. I know they know their boxing, I get that, but I think maybe they've overlooked the fight with myself and Joe. Maybe they looked at that as their barometer, but I'm a two-weight world champion, as you said, I'm a heavyweight champion of the world. Joe went 8 rounds of me, so I think there's been some miscalculation, and as big as the show is, I think there's going to be a massive upset.
Thank you, David. Straight over to you, Alexis. You heard David's statement, miscalculation.
Yeah.
You obviously know David very well.
Yeah. I think that's the whole point. I think we were able to see Joe, and I know David, and I know the level of the boxing, and I kind of know what they've got. And the only way to really be sure in boxing is as much pad work as you do, or as much bag work, or as much cardio or fitness work that you do. The only way to really know what you're like is to spar. And not be carried during sparring rounds, but take guys that are going to try and take your head off, and take guys that are going to put you in the positions that you're going to be in during these fights, and see how you do. We're sparring national level champions, we're sparring undefeated professional boxers, we're sparring 30-0, 40-0 boxers, we're sparring guys that are legitimately trying to take KSI's head off, and we're dealing with that, and we're doing really, really well. And that familiarity, there is a point where I think as much as David may think it might work against me in that familiarity that I'm taking something for granted, I've seen Joe, and I've taken guys to spar Joe, so I know what he's like. I know he's a tough, durable guy. I know that he can box, but I also know that the level of fitness that KSI's got, and the power he's got in both of his hands, I think it's a really competitive fight. I think it's far more competitive than David thinks it is, and I think it's way more dangerous than Joe thinks it is. I think the idea of us.
I don't think it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think
it's more dangerous walking here today.
And I think that's why it's going to be really dangerous for you, because you don't think it is. I mean, I've seen guys, like I said, talk is cheap. It's actions speak louder than words. I've seen guys get slumped in the ring with him. I've seen him knock people out, clean out. Not just in his last fight, in the gym regularly. He's not something that, it's not lucky. It's something that he's been doing, and been doing quite often. So we only get our confidence from each other when things are going well. There's no fake confidence in our gym. We're not going to take you on the pad and say you're great and then send you out to have a fight and you just had a bad day. Doesn't work with us. We're tried and tested.
Alexis, I mean, I don't want to talk about this fight, this other fight that I'm going to mention now too much, but of course there is another, let's say, crossover boxer who recently tried in a very big fight to defeat a pro, came up short, as we all know.
Yeah.
Is that something that makes you, worry at night about Joe Fournier? I mean, given that Joe Fournier's record is a very strong one, ranked top 10 in the world in his career, held a title that's held, I think, currently by Joshua Boazzi, who's a big name, obviously, on the domestic professional scene. Is it something where, I mean, I know it's the quest for legacy, and does that put doubts in your mind ever?
I think the only thing that puts doubts in a coach's mind or a fighter's mind is if they can't do something, if they're trying to do something they have never done before. If you're doing it day in and day out in a gym, if you're working your butt off and you're sparring around and you're not cutting corners. Remember, corners, when you cut corners, these things are going to show under the lights. For us, you know, I would never, it's not about money for us, it's about success, it's about winning. Money always comes when you win. So ultimately, if he's not ready to fight, he won't be fighting. None of us are in this we don't want to put out a product that isn't good enough to put out. So as it might look to a lot of boxers and to a lot of pros and to a lot of journalists that we've bitten off more than we can chew, but we're doing it day in and day out. So if we're doing it day in and day out and it's working out for us, then we have to roll the dice, and it's less of a risk than you think. It's less of a risk for us. I'm super confident and happy that we've put in and we're going to put in the work. I mean, you know, the hundreds of rounds of sparring, live sparring. Like I said, when you're in a pro gym, you understand when you get a pro and they carry a kid around and they box him and they move him around for the rounds. That's not what's going on here. We're getting the right sparring partners in that are trying to do serious damage to him, and he's absolutely handling it and handling them. So I can only go on that level of, I can only get that confidence from what he's doing. If KSI wasn't doing that, I wouldn't be involved in it. It's that simple. So.
Very good. So, the billion-dollar man, you said it was more dangerous to walk it today. You arrived in a chauffeur-driven Rolls-Royce, so that was an interesting statement. Caught you out there. First of all, you jumped at the opportunity. I can say that from knowing the negotiations. Yeah. You've been away for a while. You look like you're in shape.
Yeah.
What is it about? It's clearly not a money fight for you. So
you didn't pay me enough for it to be a money fight.
Yeah, we had that discussion over many months. But ultimately, this is a challenge, isn't it? Like JJ's is for legacy. What do you see here? Do you see a young fighter that you want to put in his place? What's driving you here?
I think, firstly, where I don't see him is not dangerous. I don't underestimate him because I do know what it takes to knock a man out. So he's managed to do that on several occasions now. That being said, I wasn't the man. And for me, yeah, it's not about the money. I do believe what Misfits has done as an organization has been tremendous, because I think boxing should be inclusive, because I was on the wrong side of that when I started boxing as a wealthy man coming into boxing. And but I think it creates millions of new fans. Obviously, this product works, and what it does for me is gives me a voice to inspire the youth of this country to do better things with their life. Because if in 10 years I can go from turning professional, becoming top 10 in the world, fighting David Haye, fighting at the O2, having Donald Trump commentate, and now fighting at Wembley, which is 10 minutes from my house, that gives me a voice. But you know what gives me a much bigger voice? When I knock him out clean, where he's looking up at the lights at Wembley, and now I have everyone's here, and now I can inspire multi-millions more people. So if I ain't doing it for the money, I'm doing it to hurt this guy and take his legacy and carry that through onto other fights.
Well, you answered my next question, was what's your fight prediction? I think that was quite clear. You've got a colourful life. I've done my homework on you. You're all over the world, jet-setting, nightclubs. David's just mentioned it, but you live a very clean life still. How do you intend to prepare for a man who is younger, a man who is in a, you know Alexis and Marios very well as well, in a proper gym, in a gym that travels with him, and he's dedicating himself to this. It's I don't want to say it's easy enough to say you're going to go knock him out. What makes you, in your preparation, why do you think you're going to have that edge?
I think that whoever he's sparring with and whoever's been in the ring with isn't me. I think the power he's going to feel he's never felt before. I think his style is very explosive, and that's going to be his mistake on the night. I think that's where he's going to get unstuck and run into something. But it's going to be different than running into a punch. Like you saw FaZe caught him a couple of times. I was in the crowd going, please don't knock him out. That's my next opponent. But I saw him catch him twice. It was straight left down the middle. When I do that, it's game over. You don't get any second chances with me. And that's how he ended up getting his knockout, because he didn't respect the power. And so if he tries any of that with me, yeah, that's not going to work. So I don't see how he's going to run in on me, and then I don't see how technically he's going to beat me. Yeah, he can be as fit as however he likes, but he still has to get through, this and this. And, if it was a 12-round fight, that might come into it. It's a 6-rounder. I can leave the pub tonight and go do a 6-rounder with anyone.
Quiet statement. David, we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and you described to me, it was a private call, so I hope you don't mind. We won't mention the whole call, but you described him as vicious in a ring. And even when you had your exhibition match, it was, and many people thought it was, it's just two mates having an exhibition match. You said no, he
stuck his nut on me a couple of times. He stuck his head in there a couple of times, and in sparring it's the same thing. He's got that, that will to win. He played high-level basketball, played for the UK, he played for Great Britain, right?
Yeah.
Played for Britain basketball, so he's used to competing at a high level, and he does the same thing in boxing. Even when he first started, he was jumping in with people who were significantly better than him, and he was hanging with them. He was holding his own. He might take a beating, but he was still there. He's never stopped around halfway through because he got buzzed or anything like that. No, he just pushed it to the end. That's why he's been able to have success late on in his life, because he's a natural-born competitor. In the boardroom, in the boxing ring, wherever it is, he wants to come out on top. And he could have took a lot less punishment from me, but he kept coming, and that's. You can't box on that. That's just there to flow, and that's why he's had the success he's had.
Thank you. So, JJ, it's about legacy. Here we are, the next step on the journey. 9-0 pro, former top 10 in the world. This is what you've wanted, what you've chased. How does it feel that we're 5 weeks out? And give us your mindset on what you're hearing up here today and your mindset towards this fight. I know it's a fight that you've absolutely put your foot down. There were other names mentioned, but this is the one you wanted.
Yeah, I think for me with this fight, I felt like I needed to level up. I feel like I needed to really test myself, Same with how Jake Paul tested himself against Tommy Fury and failed. I want to be the person that succeeds. I know this is going to be a hard fight. Alexis has told me several times this is not going to be an easy fight. This is going to be a fight that it's going to be a struggle. I know Joe is not going to make it easy for me. I know Joe is going to, hit me and really try to slow me down, try to knock me out, etc. But, I'm training like I've never trained in my life. Like, I've trained so hard. I'm already at fight weight, and I'm just pushing myself more and more and more to make sure that I reach an even higher level than I have before. We've worked on our techniques, we've worked on our skills, we've worked on everything we needed to do to make sure that I'm fully ready. And I know he's going to have the experience. He's just been doing it longer than me. It's just simple as that. So, yeah, he's probably the better boxer as well. But, I have a lot of freakish traits that really make me stand out. For me, it's my explosiveness, it's my power. I'm a very fast, explosive guy. And when I hit people, they stay hit and they feel it. Especially in 10-ounce gloves, I'm a problem. So, in sparring, I'm using 20-ounce gloves. and, you know, still doing a lot of damage. And I'm getting my timing right. I'm getting my timing perfect. I'm getting, you know, my sparring is just really improving. And I'm fighting and sparring against really tough opponents. So, yeah, I'm pushing myself to the brink. And it's tough. It's hard because, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot. And, you know, I'm doing a lot, you know, already. So to push myself in training as well, yeah, it really does take a toll. But, you know, I'm a fighter. You know, I'm always gonna keep fighting, and I'm always gonna want to try and prove people wrong. And, you know, a lot of people think I'm gonna get slept. A lot of people think I'm gonna lose. A lot of people think I'm out of my depth. A lot of people believe that I have no place to be fighting a 9-0 pro. But, you know, I'm KSI. Like, I want to be the man that shows the world that if you put your mind to something, you can really get and do anything you want in this world, in this life. So, yeah.
Do you look at the Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, him coming up short against Tommy Fury, and what ultimately was a very similar situation? Do you look at that, and does that have any impact on your mindset?
Well, when it comes to Jake Paul, you know, obviously I just don't like the guy. So, you know, when he lost, you saw me, you know, make a video laughing at him, etc. But yeah, I know there's a lot of pressure on me now. You know, I put the pressure on myself, especially doing something like that. You know, there's going to be a lot of eyes watching. You know, people who, you know, love me, hate me, are going to be watching to see if the same outcome happens. And I want to be the person to make sure it doesn't. And, yeah, you know, people forget, yeah, I'm a YouTuber that just, you know, fell in love with boxing and just worked on my craft. And now I'm here fighting a 9-0 pro. It's pretty mad. It's pretty mad how my life has just like come together like this. But, you know, I truly do believe in myself. You know, I have this dog in me that really just doesn't want to lose. And even if I'm on the back foot, even if I'm getting pieced up, I'm going to find something within me to keep going. And I will go down on my shield. I'm not a guy that is going to just play around and just be like, oh, all right, maybe I've lost, but I'll just make sure I don't get knocked out. No, I don't care about getting knocked out. I want to make sure I win no matter what.
You should really care.
I want.
Well, that's because you've never been knocked out, but you should care.
Well, I want to make sure that I put everything, absolutely everything, into this fight, and I will. So yeah.
I want you to be the best version.
I will
of
be
yourself.
the best. Trust me.
I want you to be super confident.
Joe, I will
want
be
you
the
to
best.
come out swinging for the fences. I want to stand right in the middle of the ring and just have a proper scrap with you. I want to really see what you can bring.
Yeah, and I can't wait.
Well, it's getting heated already. Do you feel that extra bit of pressure because Jake couldn't do it, and you now have that opportunity in sort of the crossover boxing world? You know, everyone was expecting in this world that, well, the crossover world, that Jake would do it.
Yeah.
Let's face it, and he didn't. Now it's sort of, hey, over to you, KSI.
Yeah, I think reality kind of just settled in. I think there was a lot of hype when it came to Jake Paul, and then, you know, when he got pieced up by Tommy Fury, everyone realized, oh, okay, Jake actually ain't that good. So with me, it's like, all right, you know, let's see how good KSI is. Let's see if he's the person, you know, that always talks the talk and walks the walk. Let's see what he can really do in this situation. Can he really stand, you know, with the big boys? And, you know, I truly believe I can. You know, like I said, I'm pushing myself to the limit. I'm really training hard. Like, even when I was in America, I was just training. You know, I came through with my trainers, and they just put me through my paces, and I'm just constantly trying to elevate myself, constantly just trying to improve myself. And I feel like when I get in that ring May 13th, you're going to see yet another different KSI, a KSI that isn't afraid to lose, a KSI that is ready to put his all into that fight and make sure he comes out victorious.
Thank you. Joe, you're talking about meeting in the center of the ring. You seem supremely confident.
Yeah.
The stats are probably on your side. Apart from age, do you not think that that's a factor? You've got a guy who, I mean, you saw the punch that ended Faye's temper.
Yeah.
It was, I must admit, quite a spectacular showreel knockout. Is that something that eggs you on? I mean, you're talking about meeting the centre of the ring, just no holds barred sort of stuff.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm coming to take the guy's whole legacy, right? You know, and be the new face of Misfits. We might be partners, Calais, you know, by the Monday, the 15th. So, at the end of the day, I want to have a scrap with the guy. If I just walk out there and I put him to sleep in 40 seconds, everyone will say, of course, it's Joe Fournier. He's meant to knock out the YouTuber. The guy made his career playing FIFA. I mean, you know, and by the way, I was also pretty good at FIFA, you know, but I got to give him his props. He beats me at FIFA, but this ain't FIFA. This is us standing there, me, 180 pounds with 6'1", throwing real punches, like he said, those little 10-ounce gloves that, you know, I'm very accustomed to. And he talks about explosive. He talks about power. I get it. But it's all relative because explosive power. And he didn't knock me out, did he? And he's pretty explosive and pretty powerful. So I would like to trade with him. I want him to stand in the middle of the ring. I want to put on fireworks, because when it goes down right there at Wembley Stadium, I want it to be a fight that's gone down in history, not just a pure me walking over him, which is what I think it'll be. I want him to be the best he can be.
No, it won't be you just walking over me.
I hope not.
Nah, like, I just won't let that happen.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, then Jake won't fight me afterwards. He's going to think, oh, fucking hell, I ain't going to fight Joe now. So, you know, I need you to make it look competitive at least. Bring something to the table. I hope so. If you want, I'll give you another $1 million and go get, like, more coaching and more prime drinks. And, you know, I want you to be as hydrated as possible. But whatever you do, bring a fight, because I'm coming to fight. I didn't come here for no reason. I didn't come here for the money. I came to put on a show. I came on to knock you out, and for the world to see, first time exclusive, KSI on the canvas, looking up at the stars.
Joe, you always had a few fights now, yeah? And he has sort of, I mean, you'd have to admit he's improved a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
He's living the life of a fighter. I can't say that you've been living the life of a fighter the last 3-4 years either. No. So if I was devil's advocate here, I'd say you had your run. Yeah. You became WBA international champion. Mm. You went off, became, you know, doing what you do. Yeah. And this man's been living the life of a fighter, which you went through before.
Correct.
So I'm just trying to find where this supreme confidence. I mean, David's sitting next to you now, but you two ain't going to be together in the ring. So
I've been in Bomboniere nightclubs in Tulum, in Mykonos, in Sardinia, 300 days a year, right? I know I have.
That is not a bad life. I'm not saying I wouldn't mind swapping.
And that's really that's where the billionaire situation comes from. But when it comes to having a fight, if he broke into my house at 4 a.m, I'm just more of a man than him, and I'm just going to knock him out just based on that fact. He's done exactly what he needs to do. He's got elite level coaching, money, you know, the best money can buy, coaching done, nutritionist done, living the life, discipline done, pure athletic physique. You've seen him on the cover of Men's Health, ladies and gentlemen. But guess what? Men's Health covers don't punch you in the ribs. Yeah, they look great, but let's test them out. So this is the difference, is we're going into a fight now. It's a whole different game. So he's done the best he can do to bridge that gap. Jake Paul did the best he could do to bridge the gap to Tommy Fury. But guess what? What was Tommy Fury doing 2 years ago? He was on Love Island. What was Jake Paul doing? Training every day, doing exactly what he's doing. And look, on the night, what happens? The professional boxer is always going to be victorious. The only difference is Tommy Fury not really a puncher. I am, and that's why there's going to be a different end to this story.
All right, some final words here. David, can I have you back in here as a...
It's got the juices flowing for sure. I'm aware of how hard Joe punches, and I don't believe they do. I think they've looked at the Instagram, seen in private jets flying here, there, girls, bottles, bonbon, nightclub. They see that and think that's what he's doing. He trains every day. I know, I've been with him. Every day he gets up, he trains, he runs, he hits the weights, he hits the gym, does his shadow. So every day, although he doesn't put that on his Instagram every day, I'm telling you, they've miscalculated and just thought, okay, used to be world class, now 40 years old, hasn't been, had an exhibition with me. They've tallied it up and they've come to the conclusion, because KSI is prime, he's in that age where he can do what he wants. His fame's all-time high. He's got a great coach, great team, great everything. They just believe that's enough to beat someone who is genuinely a real fighter, who's taken significantly more punches than KSI is. I can guarantee you one thing, Joe's put himself in a position where he's taken punishment behind the scenes. He hasn't really taken it in fights, but behind the scenes, he's battle-hardened, he's tough, and they don't know that to calculate that. So when it comes to it, if it's a toe-to-toe exchange, Joe's a naturally bigger guy.
You see this going toe-to-toe? You see that type of fight?
If they're as confident as they say they are, it goes toe-to-toe, centre of the ring, maybe the confidence that KSI has got from his recent knockouts against people who weren't legitimate boxers has given him a full sense of security, believing that his world-class punch power in his mind is able to do something to a world-class fighter. And it doesn't work that way. He's been hit by much bigger, stronger people than KSI, and he stayed on his feet. So it's going to be very, very explosive, and I see a massive upset. And I hope it's as entertaining as Joe said it's going to be.
We shall see May 13th, live and exclusive on DAZN from Wembley Arena. Alexis, your man's getting taken in the middle of the ring, toe-to-toe. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Joe and David are both talking a really good game. I hear what they're saying, and the way they've added it up makes sense to them. It's just when you're inside a live gym, there's a real difference between being inside a nightclub and being retired, and not being inside a live boxing gym where people are getting hit and knocked out and rough rounds are happening every single day. Sounds good in theory, but we know that age is a huge factor in boxing. It's a huge factor in punch resistance, in your fitness. And if you're not doing all that dirty work and all those rounds, and if you're not current, and if you're not fit, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It doesn't matter how tough you were in the past. We've all seen guys come back from retirements. We've all seen guys that have taken a layoff and that ring rust and come back, and they've just not been the same. And if I'm honest with you, I'm not relying on Joe not being the same as he was. I think he could be the same as he was. I still think KSI sleeps in. I still do. And I think that we'll find out on May 13th. We'll find out if he does, and we'll find out who's going to get proved right or wrong. But one thing's guaranteed. I can guarantee you one thing. It'll be the best KSI you've ever seen. It'll be the fittest, it'll be the strongest, it'll be the fastest, and it'll be somebody that'll be looking to make an absolute huge statement in this scene. And we're all here putting everything on the line to make it happen.
Thank you. Before we come to the champ, Joe, final statement. What's going down May 13th?
I'd personally like to bludgeon him for a few rounds, get the ring rust off that Alexis is talking about, get this old body moving, but at the end of the day, I don't think he'll go to the judges. I think he will get slept very, very early on with that false confidence. And I think, and if it does go to the judges, it will be unanimous in my favour either way. So I think you're seeing the new face of Misfits here, ladies and gentlemen, today. I'm going to go back to my nightclubs. I'm going to do the opposite of what KSI is doing, and I'm still going to knock him out May 13th. So tune in and watch it on DAZN.
Thank you, Joe. JJ, final thoughts, comments?
Yeah.
No one seems to think it's going to the judges, that's for sure.
No, I don't think it's going to the judges as well. I think May 13th, it's going to be fireworks. I'm going to bring it. Simple as that. I'm going to bring everything I have. I'm going to make sure it's a fight of the year. And yeah, I'm ready. And I'm excited.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We will break now while we clear the stage for the face-to-face. Thank you.
DAZN X-Series. Let's see some thunder!
Here we go. A clean shot, and it could be lights out.
It's the real deal.
Hey, he looks like a pro boxer.
1, 2, 3.